Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hi, this is Linda Thompson, your host for The Author Show. Author, musician, and international traveler J. Allen Story joins us today from Vancouver, British Columbia, to talk about his latest novel, The Arcs, a story about a former homicide detective and his apparent downward spiral. I love this kind of suspense thriller, so without any further delay, let's talk to our guest. Jay, welcome to The Author Show.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Jay, please give our listeners a quick overview of The Arcs.
Sure. The Arcs is a story of a homicide detective. He's on stress leave after a mental breakdown because of a horrific experience he had on the job. His life is kind of a mess. He's developed a drinking problem, has PTSD, and recurring nightmares. And the people at the squad where he used to work sort of question whether he'll ever come back to work. He stumbles into the squad one day and starts telling them this wild story about babies being kidnapped and conspiracies, and they all think he's crazy. Because of his background, they just pat him on the shoulder and tell him, well, that's very nice, go home and get over it. So there's this constant underlying question of his sanity, but he vows to investigate anyway, and he teams up with the sister of the mother of one of the babies that he believes was kidnapped, and they investigate this whole crime by themselves. And the book is basically about him trying to prove that he's sane and trying to prove that this conspiracy really exists. So that's what the book's about.
What does the word ARCS, A-R-X, mean, and how does it relate to your story?
Arcs is the name of the people that he uncovers as a part of his investigation. I won't go into exactly what they are because that would kind of give away too much, but there's sort of what he ends up uncovering as part of his investigation into these missing children.
Did you have a specific type of reader in mind while writing your book?
I try to write stories that I would like to read. I think anybody that likes a good mystery, twists and turns, and I think some pretty interesting characters, unusual characters. I think a pretty unexpected outcome of the book. And the book has elements of science fiction, too, so anybody that's interested in crime, mystery, suspense, science fiction would be the kind of target.
Is there another author you feel may have influenced your writing style, Jay?
I can't really point out any particular author. I tend to like books that are adventure stories or mystery stories, hopefully set in some kind of exotic setting. I'm a bit of a throwback. I like a lot of the old literature. I just finished reading Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad, and I really liked the tension and the imagery. That kind of book is what I'm aiming for. My goal is to write books like that.
You've traveled all over the world. Do you get your story ideas from people you meet on your journeys?
I've definitely gotten ideas. I wouldn't say that the majority of ideas come from when I've traveled. Certainly, they come from all of my experiences, and traveling's been part of that. I would definitely say that there are scenes in my books that are lifted from things that I experienced when I was traveling. But I wouldn't say it was a huge part of my writing.
Are your characters 100% from your imagination, or do they resemble people you know?
I'd say they're almost completely from my imagination. I think always people's personalities leak in, and you think about how a certain person was, and you think, oh, it'd be neat if they acted like that, if their personality incorporated that. The characters, they don't come from any living or any existing person.
If you were writing an article introducing the Arcs, what would the headline be?
It's a good one. Gripping mystery, suspense, incorporating elements of science fiction, something like that.
You've written other novels, but they don't seem to have anything in common. So will your protagonist in the Arcs return in a sequel or a series?
When I wrote The Arcs, started out being, I think it was 113,000 words, and I got it down to 89,000, I think. So there's about 25,000 words that didn't make it into the book. And a lot of that stuff could quite easily become a sequel if I chose to do that. It really depends a lot on how the first one sells, whether it's popular, whether people are interested in a sequel. If I feel like there's some kind of demand for a sequel, I certainly have the material to make a sequel if that possibility arises.
If you could compare the Arks with any other, what would that other book be?
It's hard to say. It's in the sort of vein of maybe Dean Koontz or James Patterson's idea. I can't think of a particular book, but it's in that general genre of thriller, suspense, horror, science fiction.
Most people write because they have a message they want to share. What is your message in the Arks?
I usually have some kind of message, but I don't usually write specifically to get a message across. A lot of what happens in the Arks revolves around drugs, the taking of drugs and the side effects as a result of taking drugs. So I guess the big message would be this idea of the dangers of, and I'm talking prescription drugs here, I'm not talking recreational drugs, the dangers of being naive about the fact that you're taking a drug, that it might help you in some ways, but it might also have side effects that you couldn't foresee. The other message would just be him fighting to prove himself and fighting to prove that he's not crazy and what he's talking about is really happening.
Please tell us where we can learn more about you, about your other books, and where can we purchase the Arks?
Right now, all my books are only available on Amazon. They can go to my author page on Amazon, J. Allen Story, JALLANSTOREY. Type that into Amazon, you get my author page, and all three of my novels are on there. The Arks is the newest, and I'm quite happy with it. I think it's going to be quite popular. They're not available anywhere else but Amazon at the moment.
Jay, I have really enjoyed talking with you today, and I'm eager to get into the Arks. Thank you for sharing with us, and please consider coming back when you release your next book.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to talk to you and the readers. Thanks a lot.
My followers know I love to find a really good review to close out my shows. This one is absolutely perfect. The Arks makes page-turning easy, driven by suspense, and carried forward by vivid imagery. J. Allen Story is not one to shy away from the big picture, taking on the issue of pharmaceutical companies manipulating data to skew public results. But ultimately, it is a novel about humanity and how vital empathy is to the human race. Please visit theauthorshow.com to listen to other featured authors. These interviews are available to book buyers worldwide on demand every day, 24/7. If you have written a book and would like to be a guest on the show, visit theauthorshow.com, complete the interview request form, and we will contact you shortly thereafter. The Author Show is a great way to market your book by getting in front of your target audience with a high-quality interview that will make a real impact. Join us again for another great book and another exciting author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.